Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 77 again. So, let's preface this. We normally have our episodes release Monday evening / early Tuesday morning. Well, we did record something Monday night, and the laptop I record off of decided to eat that podcast and just delete it before I could transfer it to the editing computer. So yeah, that is a lost episode that we will never recover, but we wanted to get at least something out to you guys this week. So there will be no news this week. Basically all the news that we covered in that lost episode is everything you know and love is either canceled or delayed.
Basically.
Which so we're just like, it's not a really big loss, but we wanted to get something out to you guys. So this is going to be mainly just a discussion in general, with some viewing recommendations. Our discussion will be comic book movie wish list. As comic book fans, we've been fortunate enough to see a lot of great things translate from the page to the screen, but there's still a lot of stuff that we would like to someday see on the big screen. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. Josh, how are you doing tonight?
I'm all right, man. I'm chilling like a villain. Today was lawn day, so mowed the lawn out of boredom and did a second round of weed and feed out of boredom.
That's how you know you're bored, when you're doing lawn care willingly.
Yeah. So there's that.
I haven't mowed a lawn since I got paid for it.
I mean, honestly, I hadn't mowed a lawn since I left for college.
Yeah, I don't know if I have either.
It's crazy. It was really funny. It was one of those like, oh, man, I haven't done this in a while. This was also the first time I've ever done it not in the Texas heat. And I was like, oh, man, I don't have to take breaks because it's too hot.
So this is what the rest of the world is like.
Yeah. Granted, it was like upper 40s today in Texas. I'm sorry, in Tennessee. So that was its own monster in its own of its own right.
Heather's very excited because here in Florida, we don't know what 40s are except for a time period that most of the people in Florida were alive for.
Jeez.
Well, I've been watching some stuff since we recorded on Monday. Again, we had some stuff. I'll forget what we talked about then, but I'll reiterate. Josh, what have you been watching since the last time we gathered?
Okay, so I finished My Hero Academia. I just been keeping up with Forged in the Fire, Curse of Oak Island, and Swamp People. I started the Harley Quinn show.
I've heard that's great. I watched about the first 10 minutes and I was just like, I think I'll like this, but as far as the first episode was going, it wasn't hooking me in enough.
Okay, so I'm consistently surprised by this show. Humor-wise, it's incredibly smart. The references are they throw a wide net of references. And they do stuff with characters that is still on point to what their character is, but it's still very funny. Like they take and run with the joke that Bane just always wants to blow everything up.
I mean,
yeah, but he's all like there's a smoothie guy that Joker's been paying to mess with Bane on his orders every day he goes in, and he's like, we're gonna blow it up just because it's a smoothie. It's so dumb. It's so, but there's actually some really, really good storytelling happening as well, which I found very intriguing.
Speaking of Bane and really good storytelling mixed with good humor, Heather and I actually rewatched Lego Batman again last night, and good grief, I love that movie. Like, there's so many references, even though I've seen it 3 or 4 times now. I catch more and more references every single time, and I love it so much.
Oh, there's some stuff that because Clayface is in Harley Quinn, is one of the main characters, and he is a thespian, and so he makes a lot of story structure jokes, which I know you will appreciate.
Okay. I feel like I need to give this show a chance because season 2 is dropping this month, isn't it?
Yes, it is, which is another reason why I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll watch it.
All right.
But yeah, and I showed my family Peanut Butter Falcon.
Oh, good. What did they think?
Oh, my mom loved it. The only thing my mom had an issue with was the ending and how it just kind of
just end.
stop. Which is, to its credit, how do you end a story like that? But at the same time, it did. Like I understood where my mom was coming from.
Yeah, the story really is about his wrestling match leading up to it. So I guess after that, there really was no resolution. But yes, more people need to see Peanut Butter Falcon. It's great.
Yes.
I've been watching some good stuff and some not some good stuff. I mentioned it in our now deleted episode, but I'll talk about it again now. I watched the first season of Krypton, which I'm actually really digging it. And now I'm having a hard time finding season 2, which is driving me nuts. But for those that don't know, Krypton is about Superman's grandfather. So not Jor-El, played by Russell Crowe, but his daddy. So basically, what was life like in Kandor? Yes, that's a big old reference right there. And it's kind of cool being a comic book fan of like, well, I know where things are going to end up. Hint, hint, if you know comic books. Yeah. Kandor can't last forever.
Yeah.
But they also bring up a really interesting point in season 1 of Superman's grandfather finds out that Krypton will be destroyed in the future. But but if that happens, Superman is created. So he's conflicted of, okay, do I let this thing happen and let my own world be destroyed for a hero that I'll never meet and fully be able to appreciate what he's capable of, and is destroying a planet worth the life of one person?
Wow. Holy cow.
And there's certain characters that have not been seen in live action form, at least in a movie, and they gave them their best shot for a TV show, and actually wasn't too bad. I can get why this show is canceled after 2 seasons, because clearly it's expensive, because some of the effects on it are really actually not too bad for a TV. But not gonna lie, some of their incarnations are pretty cool, because it's not like a superhero show. It's more akin to like Battlestar Galactica or like a classic sci-fi show.
Which is cool, because I feel like that's the direction you'd have to take it.
Yes. And they wait a couple episodes to reveal who the main villain is for season 1. But let's just say it's a well-known Superman villain that probably is allowed to exist in multiple eras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see why. You know what? My dad and I are probably going to be watching tonight.
1917.
Yes. So
did I guess right?
Yes, you did. So it should be fun. I will let you go. I will let everybody else know next week what I kind of thought of it. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm also excited to rewatch Rise of Skywalker finally.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm sure we'll be doing that in a couple of days. We haven't rewatched it yet, but I still defend Rise of Skywalker is a very enjoyable movie with flaws, but I still enjoy it.
It's given what Rian Johnson did to the series, JJ had to do what he could.
I completely agree. And I think even some of the critics of this movie, except for the die-hard Last Jedi fans, kind of acknowledge that, this movie is kind of stuck in a corner. However, not everything I've watched lately has been spectacular. I finally sat down and watched Will Smith's Gemini Man from last year because...
Oh, I did not hear good things.
Okay. I really wanted to see this, not because I heard good things about it, but because... And I'm not even a big Ang Lee fan. As a director, I thought Life of Pi was just kind of okay, and don't even get me started on his Eric Bana Hulk movie, but... I was really interested in the technology that they used to film the movie of like, it was shot, I think it was either 6 or 8K, like super high resolution. I think the 4K version was shot on 60 frames per second. So like super, super high quality. So I wanted it as a visual person, and I was just like, give me the best picture quality possible, this was a movie that I was like, I kind of want to see it just for that. And yeah, that's basically what this movie is. It's like a tech demo for your TV and sound system, really. That being said, it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting it to be, but it wasn't good either. Will Smith is really good in both parts because essentially the movie is him being stalked and being tried to be assassinated by a younger clone of himself, which the de-aging looks good, but it probably would be more significant if it was an actor that actually aged, because Will Smith, it just doesn't work. It would be like if Paul Rudd was being chased by young Paul Rudd. The actors don't age. My big issue with the movie was it was very, very dull. There would be very long stretches of time of big action set piece. Okay, let's talk about what just happened for the next 20 to 30 minutes. And the psychology of having a clone, or the psychology of this action scene, which, it being an Ang Lee film, really shouldn't have surprised me, but it still was very dull.
Yeah.
That being said, it still at least lived up to the hype in terms of looking gorgeous, like one of the most crystal clear movies I've ever seen. But worth your time? Not really. But if it's like a 99-cent rental, see it once.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I'm obviously showing a nerd, like hardcore nerdy I am with me watching a show about blacksmithing and a show about treasure hunting. But
Vikings on History Channel?
I need to finish it, but that's not what I'm just going to talk about. The History Channel just started a new show called, it's kind of going to be done in the same vein of Oak Island for Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know if you know what that is, but
that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Skinwalker Ranch is a plot of land out in Utah that like a lot of weird stuff has happened, like everything from like UFOs to poltergeist to dire wolves appearances, like all kinds of stuff. And the Native Americans that have lived in that area called it Skinwalker Ranch because they believe in a spirit called a skinwalker that like can morph into different things, and that is where it's said to live. And there's all kinds of weird stuff that has been happening there for like hundreds of years and stuff. But they just started it, and I'm already mad. I mean, I have followed this kind of stuff. I've watched documentaries on this area before, but they are just trying to peak the drama on something that is already dramatic, and it actually frustrated me.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
I did see, and this is how much of a nerd I am in the same sense of, I saw the release schedule for like streaming things for like Netflix, Hulu, and everything else. I saw some of the titles coming to Shudder, and finally Absentia is coming to Shudder. For those that don't know, Absentia is Mike Flanagan's first movie that he ever made, who is one of my favorite horror directors. He did Hush, The Haunting of Hill House, Gerald's Game. He's fantastic. So that's like the only movie that I have not been able to find. So it's finally coming to streaming.
Dang. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I haven't even gotten to touch any of my stuff on Shudder yet. So I need to do that.
I know you'll be super excited. They just added the first 8 Friday the 13th.
Yay.
Which, okay, I wasn't going to talk about this in news because we're not going over news, but I'll talk about this real quick. Really, really weird development today. It was announced that they're coming out with a new Friday the 13th board game, which normally that's not a big deal. But if you listen to the podcast for any length of time, I've talked about before, Friday the 13th is legally not allowed to come out with any new content when they're in the middle of this lawsuit with the scriptwriter of the original movie, Victor Miller. So I find it very interesting that they only now are starting to come out with some new stuff. So I'm like, is there some new developments in this lawsuit that we're not familiar with? Or what's going on here? Is somebody out of order?
That's crazy, dude.
It's the most intrigued I've ever been about a board game.
Yeah.
You got any other recommendations? Are you ready to get right into the discussion?
I mean, let's go, dude. I mean, it's really unfortunate that we lost that whole episode because I mean
that was like 2.5 hours just wasted.
Yeah. And like it was some pretty good stuff too. Like I'm really sad.
The topic was going to be our favorite video games, and I'm sure we will cycle back to it. But I don't know about you, Josh. Having the heartache of an episode deleted and also how much time we talked about it, we'll come back to it in maybe a couple months.
Yes. Well, and that was the thing.
It'll feel like we just talked about it, even though you guys at home haven't heard it.
Yeah, it was a long discussion, and I think, and to our credit, this might be the opportunity we need because I think we could have organized our discussion a little bit better. But you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
I purposely kept this like fast and loose because I know this is a discussion topic that you and I could easily talk about this for 2.5 hours without any news.
True. Also true. But yeah, let's it's unfortunate we lost the episode, but yeah, let's go ahead and hop right in.
Yeah, we move along. So we have split this discussion into 3 categories. Good guys, bad guys, and then just kind of random, either like certain story beats, specific items or moments. Let's start it off with the villains, because I've got a lot of villains, obviously. So this kind of goes without saying, and I feel like I can speak for Josh here. A lot of the things on our list today will probably be DC Comics related stuff. I have some Marvel, but by and large, Marvel fans have been really blessed with the opportunity to have a lot of their stuff that's been in the comics been in the MCU, because that's been successfully going on for about 12 years now, whereas DC is kind of getting there, but there's a lot more stuff to tap into the well of for DC than Marvel right now.
I will say I tried to stay away from anything Batman or Superman.
I don't have a ton of those, but I do still have some Batman and Superman stuff, but not a lot.
Yeah, I felt like those stories are in the pipe regardless. I really felt like the point of this discussion was to let's try something new or try something that didn't work.
Okay. So, kick us off. Who's like at the top of your absolute wish list villain wise that we have not seen in a movie? And to preface, if they've been in a TV show but have not been in a movie, they're still fair game. It is not like we haven't seen him in live action form at all type of thing.
Yeah. So technically we've seen him in a movie, but not for long. I think if we don't see Deathstroke in sometime in the next 5 years, it'll be we will be cheated.
It's a shame it won't be Joe Manganiello again.
Yes.
Because he did look spot on in that Justice League end credits.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's that Zack Snyder universe, but at the same time, you know what? Maybe it might be good to build a cast for him to be a nemesis towards first, rather than bringing him in just randomly.
I know some people have talked about in the past of doing a Deathstroke spin-off, like a solo movie. Is that something you'd be interested in, or do you want him specifically as an antagonist?
That is always something that I struggle with when it comes to villains, because really villains are just in the story to give heroes something to fight, right? So I feel if you feel like the need to over explain your villain, then I feel like that it's why I'm having issues with Morbius. Morbius is okay because he's kind of on
anti-hero spectrum,
anti-hero line, but somebody like Venom should not be. There should not be a point where we are at some point identifying with him. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be a point into which we're like, oh man, he's been through so much. I feel for him, but you know, I got to cheer for Spider-Man because he's a good guy. But you know, I feel for Venom. Like you shouldn't be able to do that. Now, I don't think you'd ever get into that situation with Deathstroke, but I feel like it also would kill some of the mystique of Deathstroke if you were to just completely explain away his backstory. Kind of like the same thing for me with Taskmaster. I think if you sit here and be like, well, he's from a Russian agency, or he's blah, 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 blah. This is what he did, blah, blah. Like, it almost feels like it cheapens him rather than him. It'd be like, well, he copies everybody and he's really good at it.
Oh, I think that's still up in the air of what Marvel is doing with Taskmaster.
Yes, I would agree.
Again, I've said it before. I don't think Taskmaster is a he, but I won't go into that.
Yeah, you and I have played with that a little bit.
Yes. So you have someone that actually physically was in a movie, but we didn't really get anything out of them. Yeah, I would very much like to see Deathstroke. Do you have, I know you suggested this off mic, but do you have a fan cast for who you would want as Deathstroke?
Not particularly. Deathstroke is hard for me to cast, primarily because it depends on how old you want to make him.
That's true.
Because my favorite Deathstrokes, the Deathstroke that I felt like was the most vicious was the older one with the eye patch and the beard, and I felt like he was more dastardly and like really like a top-notch jerk.
So like a Stephen Lang type.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want to go old, and actor-wise, you want to go older, but you don't want to go so old that he loses all of his physicality.
That's why I still liked. I know Arrow got a bit spotty, but I still think to me the best season was season 2 with Deathstroke as the main villain, and Manu Bennett killed it.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was the right age for it too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I said I wouldn't have a lot of Batman stuff, but looking at it, I have one or two things. A lot of my Batman stuff does come from villains because Batman to me is like Spider-Man in that they clearly have the best rogues gallery of their respective comic book companies. Like, no one could touch Spider-Man's rogues gallery in terms of how great they are for Marvel, and no one could touch Batman's rogues gallery for DC. And he's had a lot of good ones emerge over the past 20 years. One in particular who made their debut, I believe, in 2003, if I can remember correctly. So in comic book years, relatively young, but this guy immediately left an impression to the point of I would be shocked if we do not get Hush at some point in these new Matt Reeves Batman movies.
I almost feel like this early career Batman would be perfect for Hush.
And I don't necessarily need them to adapt Hush verbatim, but the whole aspect of Hush being a gigantic murder mystery really seems like it would fit right into the Robert Pattinson Batman movies.
Yeah, it's the thing I think that Hush is really good about is it causes Bruce to have that conversation. In the comic, it's him having that conversation again, but have that conversation with himself on why do I do this? What are my limits when it comes to what I allow myself to do? Can I ever actually settle down? Because I think like having those conversations with himself, and I think especially with just growing the series now, having a Hush-like movie would be extremely smart.
Oh, yeah. Again, in a perfect world, we'd have him like maybe as like the middle villain of a trilogy, and then something happens with him, but he sets the table for the next group to step up and be the main villains in Gotham, who, if anybody has left a bigger impact in Batman comics in recent years, for better or for worse, besides Hush, it's definitely the Court of Owls.
Yes, I was going to add that, but I wasn't sure how you were going to feel about it.
Oh, I mean, Court of Owls is well. I was about to say Court of Owls is always welcome, except in my Nightwing stories, in which case I'm sick to death of them. The Court of Owls made him Rick Grayson, and I hate it.
The one thing, the early Rebirth, with Nightwing was fantastic. I love Talon in that series too.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I really like the story aspect of Nightwing being a descendant of a Talon, and he was bred to be a Talon. That's why he's from Haley's Circus. He was like trained his whole life without knowing it that they want him to be a talent. I think that's a great story aspect. The direction that they've taken it. But also recently with the comics, and I don't think it'll be an issue with the movies, but a big issue that they've had in the comics recently is, we found a good thing with the Court of Owls. Let's bleed this thing to death.
Yeah.
Of like Court of Owls storyline is from 2011. There is still hangover effects in the comics in 2020 from this storyline. It is still dragging on.
No, jeez.
Yeah. It's frustrating of like why Nightwing right now is Rick Grayson of just like the Court of Owls have like reshaped his identity to change him into something else. I'm just, really guys, this is 9 years old and we're still dragging this on. But the Court of Owls as a whole is perfect for a movie of this underground organization that more or less completely controls Gotham, every part of its infrastructure. It's like Gotham's wealthiest, basically eyes wide shut of underground society that controls everything. And Batman knows every nook and cranny of Gotham, but he doesn't know the Court of Owls. So not really knowing something and actually having to discover it is an actual mystery that Batman has to solve. Plus, while I was initially kind of hesitant about it, I don't mind the whole Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, may not have been as perfect as Batman holds him up to be.
Oh, I agree. Because that forces him to have that conversation with himself of why he does what he does. Because one of the pinnacle things for him doing this to being Batman is because his parents were murdered. But if his dad was not a good person, does it matter?
Yes. Like, does it become a senseless crime anymore? Or was it something that maybe Thomas deserved?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've seen that a lot actually recently in at least some of the animated stuff where Thomas is not a good person.
Yeah, and the Telltale games too.
Yes.
Which whatever means we don't have to see Thomas and Martha Wayne get shot again, because I'm good with not seeing their death for a while. Like, I chastise the MCU for not having Uncle Ben in the Spider-Man movies, and I think that's a big issue that Spider-Man has to deal with. But I'm at least happy that we haven't shot Uncle Ben yet.
Yes. It'd be terrible is if he gets an Uncle Ben later in life.
Ooh. And it's not technically Uncle Ben, but it's like Luke and Uncle Owen type situation of more like a family of like a close.
It's like his step uncle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he gets really attached. Maybe it's in a time where he's not sure if he wants to be Spider-Man anymore.
What if Happy becomes Uncle Ben?
Oh, stop. I don't want to have that conversation right now.
Oh, no. Dude. I think I just had a brainstorm.
Oh.
Because more often than not, when Uncle Ben dies, it's like within the first 30 minutes of the movie to motivate Peter. And we've never really cared about Uncle Ben. So, yes, we already have Spider-Man, and I know completely undo the Spider-Man mythology because Uncle Ben's death is what motivates him to be Spider-Man. He's already Spider-Man, but that I can't avoid thinking about an emotional gut punch.
Because especially after Far From Home, we love Happy.
Yes, we've always loved Happy. Even at Iron Man's worst movies, 2 and 3, Happy is still the best thing about those movies.
No, absolutely. So dude, my heart would break.
Like, you think Yondu's death was bad?
Dude, oh my goodness. No, I am not ready for that.
You watch, now it'll happen. Hey, you heard it here first, folks.
Oh, jeez. So question, so I don't know if it has been confirmed yet or not. You're always better about that than I am. But has a certain Hunter been confirmed as a villain, or has it just been the rumor still?
It is just the rumor, and he is also on my list.
Yes. When we were talking about villains, and when you made the comment about how Spider-Man has one of the best rogue galleries, you're not joking. I mean, the fact that they pulled out Vulture for their first movie, I just cried for joy. I would love to see actual Scorpion or actual Rhino. Like that would be fun as well.
Paul Giamatti didn't do it for you?
No, it's legitimately like if I have to sit here and I know I sing Amazing Spider-Man's praises, but if I have to sit here and sit and tell you how much I hate Rhino, like, oh, how do you take Paul Giamatti and make him
who is a great actor, by the way?
Yeah, like, and I legitimately detest that performance of his, and it's really unfortunate. But bringing Kraven out would be, oh my gosh, bring Kraven in, and he's the one that kills Ben. No, he kills Happy.
The only way that really would work is if that's like setting the groundwork for Kraven's Last Hunt, which I don't know if we go that direction or not.
I am so down for that. Maybe he kidnaps Happy and uses him as bait.
Ooh, in which case we get Spider-May.
Yes, Spider-May. Anyway, no, yeah, Kraven is one of those large untapped resources that we haven't gotten to yet. And I think, if I remember right, the rumor is that he's not going to show up first in Spider-Man. He's going to show up in Black Panther 2.
That's the rumor, but I think as cool as that sounds, and even I myself have pitched that idea before and I think it would be cool, I think legally it might be difficult because Wakanda is a firmly MCU world. It is a firmly Disney-owned property, whereas Kraven is a Sony-owned character. So I think it'd be a little difficult for them to come to the table on a non-Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I agree.
If they could, I mean, that'd be a great way to do it.
I mean, if anything, you can drop it as an Easter egg and be like, have somebody be like, "Oh, hey, there's a poacher out doing this, blah 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 blah. He's supposedly a fantastic hunter, but we've got to put a stop to it or whatever." And he sends out a squad, and it's like just like a really small Easter egg drop or something.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, just so that, because it would be, I really do like the idea of him being in Africa actually hunting animals.
Or, if nothing else, the end credits of Black Panther, we don't even have to cast the actor yet. But someone is being chased in the woods by Black Panther, and they get away, but not before they leave behind their leopard jacket.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would be down with that as well.
And I feel like I can speak for you. This is one of the only heroes or villains that we've talked about today that I feel like we have our fan cast for.
I mean, yes.
Ever since I suggested Gerard Butler, we really can't think of anybody else.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Idris Elba.
He's too busy in DC now.
Wait, what? Since when?
He's in Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's right. Jeez, I keep forgetting.
Bronze Tiger, even though they haven't said that he's Bronze Tiger.
He's totally Bronze Tiger.
And it is confirmed now, at least from set photos, that we're getting Polka Dot Man. Yes!
Real quick, in Harley Quinn, I think it's episode 2, maybe 1, late 1. Calendar Man is a spotlight character, and it's the best.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to watch because I love me some Calendar Man.
All right, so besides Gerard Butler, can you see anybody?
I
mean, normally I prefer my Kraven with hair, but
Tom Holland wants Jason Momoa, but that'll never happen.
No, I don't like that at all. I would really like Jason Statham.
No.
Yes.
No, so much no yes. There, man. Just no. Statham's got a lane that he can stay in. Just that's not it, man. That's a no for me, Chief.
No, this could be his chance. This could be his opportunity.
No, Jason Statham would be a much better Ghost Rider than Kraven the Hunter.
Ooh, don't you tempt me with that.
I don't know, man. I'm liking the rumors that I'm hearing. Again, these are just rumors, so that means I don't believe them at all, that Keanu's our new Ghost Rider.
Oh, stop! Oh, no!
Which Keanu would just be like, you mean I get paid to drive a motorcycle? Whoa.
Oh, okay. So what's funny is I think outside of Idris, all the casting ideas I have are all white guys for Craven. And partly because he is white, but also I think the idea of a guy who is a complete jerk and literally only exists to kill innocent things feels very much like a white person.
Yeah. And then there'll be all this outrage, like that time that Steven Spielberg posted a picture with the T-Rex the Triceratops from Jurassic Park, and everyone was just like, how dare he kill an animal for sport? And we're all just going, what?
So do you have any more villains?
Oh, I got plenty more. And I actually have a perfect piggyback off of Craven. If there's anything I've wanted more, there's like a special place of like, before Captain America lifted Mjolnir, that was one of the top things of, I need to see this in a movie someday. But even higher on my list than Captain America wielding Mjolnir, I need to see the Sinister Six in a movie at some point.
Yes.
Not in a standalone movie. They need to be fighting Spider-Man.
Well, and in a non-forced way. Like, oh, we're wrapping up this movie. Time to shove a bunch of stuff in the end credits.
Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But also, it's weird I'm so oddly picky of who I want in these Sinister Six. Like, some people are just like, well, we already have the makings of the Sinister Six. We've got Vulture, Scorpion, Mysterio, Venom, Carnage, and Green Goblin. I'm like, okay.
No.
Half of those people were never even in the Sinister Six. We can kind of let Green Goblin in if we have to. But Green Goblin, on his own pride, refused to join the Sinister Six because he thought he could take down Spider-Man by himself. The only thing he took down was Gwen Stacy off a bridge.
Oh, no. Oh, no. How dare you? How dare you stand where he stood?
I mean, she didn't stand. She fell.
Yep. But man, that was a snappy joke there, bud.
Not as much as a snap for her, but
oh yeah, boy.
But also, Venom and Carnage are another thing I want, which is a Venom, Carnage, Spider-Man triple threat match. Which
yes.
Ooh. But Sinister Six, as a lifelong Spider-Man fan, I always love the concept of the Sinister Six of like. Normally, it's a bunch of heroes unite to take on one villain, whether it be a Thanos or a Loki. What if it's a whole bunch of villains taking on one hero? That's awesome to me because Sinister Six have handed Spider-Man his butt on numerous occasions, and he actually has to dig down deep. It's good storytelling. But yes, I'm very picky about who I want. Like, so far, I think we're on the right track. Vulture, yes, I will accept that. Scorpion, yes. Good call. Mysterio, yes. Craven, yes. Because I do actually believe the rumors that Craven will be our villain for the next Spider-Man movie. Maybe hired by the Daily Bugle to take down the murderer that is Spider-Man.
That would be... Oh, that's a twist.
Because you would know better than me. In the Ultimate comics, wasn't Craven more of a reality show host, like Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Yeah, he was, and that was one of the few things I didn't like.
Maybe he's got something like that of like he's an actual hunter, but he's hunting a person. But yeah, Craven the Hunter is an actual Sinister Six member. I guess we haven't had a Green Goblin. I'm okay with that. That wouldn't feel too forced, and maybe just throw in somebody else. In an ideal world, it would have been Sandman or Hydro Man, but we wasted those.
So we're not going to talk about Doc Ock then?
I would love Doc Ock so much, but I think Marvel and Sony both want new villains. That's why we really haven't seen any repeats, except for Green Goblin being played to death. And Alfred Molina played it to such perfection, even though I know it was 16 years ago. Oh, that just hurts to say. I think his shadow is still so large over the character. As much as I would love to see Doc Ock, he's by far my favorite Spider-Man villain. I just don't know if they would recast him yet.
Yeah, which is, I know, that's fair. I think, but piggybacking off of the Spider-Man games story, would be like that. Sinister Six would be pretty peak. Like I would enjoy that a lot.
Better yet for Doc Ock. You got me thinking, which is always a very dangerous thing.
Yes, it is.
Lately, these Spider-Man movies have had some kind of a twist to them. Whether it's the excellent one in Homecoming with Vulture actually being Liz's dad. That was a great twist. Mysterio being the worst twist ever, that Mysterio is bad. What if we do get Doc Ock, but plot twist, it's the Doc Ock from Into the Spider-Verse, and it's a woman.
I'd be super down with that.
I think that would surprise a lot of people, even people that have seen Into the Spider-Verse, because that's Miles' timeline. If we make a twist in it, so it's not all male villains, and we actually throw a woman in there, maybe she's the one leading everything.
Yes.
Because there's a precedent for a female Doc Ock. I'd be on board with that, because I actually really liked the Doc Ock in Into the Spider-Verse, and I remember when we saw it in theaters, I did not see that twist coming. I would like to see that type of twist be played in a movie.
Yes. Now, would you give her mechanical arms, or would you let her keep the style from Into the Spider-Verse? Because I actually
I would go Into the Spider-Verse
really
just to keep it unique and different from the Alfred Molina version, the biomechanical versions.
Because I surprisingly really enjoyed that choice.
So long as it's not Stark tech. For the love of God, don't make it anything related to Tony Stark.
Like, let Stark be dead, please.
And let me rejoice in that.
Yes. So so real quick then, how long do you think we have until his daughter is in a suit?
Whose?
Iron Man.
Never.
Never, really?
I say never.
You think the kid he helped will be before that?
Huh?
Do you think the kid that he helped will be in a suit before his daughter, or just like
I don't think we'll ever see him again, ever.
Okay.
Because I think him at the funeral was just like a nice tip of the cap to Iron Man 3 fans, all 10 of them. But he doesn't really have a purpose.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I don't blame you.
Like, I liked his inclusion, but I don't see a future for him going forward.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll give that to you. I'll give it to you.
I got 4 other villains. Almost all of them are DC, except for one more Marvel one, which admittedly, this guy has been in a movie, but he was so far from what everyone knows him to be that, in my book, we have not actually seen a live-action Galactus yet.
Ooh, good call, good call.
Because Fart Cloud there in Rise the Silver Surfer does not count as Galactus to me.
Which I would not mind bringing back Silver Surfer. Just, yeah, I would agree. Bring actual Galactus, bro.
Like, okay, you've had Thanos now, who snapped away half the universe. Now, show us what you mean of, I've wanted Galactus ever since they acquired Fox, of like, okay, you've had Thanos now as your main villain. Where do you go from that? How about the guy that literally eats planets because he's that massive and it needs to consume energy?
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad. So the other, which is really funny that we're pulling from that Fantastic Four stuff, because I desperately need a good Doctor Doom.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Mole Man.
No. Well, though, Mole Man would be fun.
I'm not going to lie, though. If we got a Mole Man, I wouldn't hate it, because he's, for those that don't know, he's exactly as he sounds. Picture the Underminer from The Incredibles.
It's literally all I imagined. I am the Underminer!
That's the actual best Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, man.
But yes, I'm with you. I almost put Doctor Doom on the list. And I'm one of those, like, comic book purists in terms of how they look on screen. You could change a lot of different things. So long as we get, like, long as we get the characters to kind of look how they look on the page. Like, maybe too much to ask for, but I want that armor and the green hood and everything.
Well, and he's got to be tall. He's got to be jacked.
Doombots.
Doombots, baby. And honestly, that's your next, like, once you get your new Avengers team rocking and rolling, that should be their first real big test, because Doom's the man. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't use him. So, do you have any casting choices in mind?
I mean, everyone wanted, but I don't think he's physically big enough. But also, he was already in the MCU, and we killed him off of Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay.
But you need. But the thing is, before he became Doctor Doom, Victor Von Doom was really, really suave and like elegant. So maybe like a Nikolai Coster-Waldau or somebody.
See, and that's my thought process. Is I feel like I'm more casting the voice.
The voice would be important. Adam Driver.
No. Although actually I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I see him in the Doom helmet, and all I can hear is Kylo Ren again, and I don't like it.
Exactly. He just comes up. I'm Matt. I'm a radar technician.
Oh man, you see, like I don't know. What's his name? The guy that played from Walking Dead, the guy with the bat.
Negan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes, he would be great.
Thomas Wayne.
Okay, yeah, but that's not.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
That's not going anywhere unless they're really going to do Flashpoint Paradox, in which case I am all on board for who they have as Martha and who they have as Thomas. Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, that's never going to happen, but okay.
Yeah, I know. I can dream, Harold.
I don't, off the top of my head, I really can't think of anybody. Like, Doctor Doom is such a difficult spot.
And you know what? Maybe that's why they're holding on to it until they can figure out Fantastic Four. Figure that monster out real quick. And then B, get their next Avengers team rolling, because they're kind of taking their time with that, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
In sports terms, they're in a rebuilding mode, and that's okay.
Yes. Well, just because, and not necessarily because people have left or not under contract or anything like that. They just, story-wise, they booked, and on purpose, they booked themselves into a corner in which all they can do right now is rebuild.
I know he's been in a ton of comic book movies already. One great DC movie, one that we will talk about next week. I wouldn't mind Mark Strong as Dr. Doom.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Actually, you know what? You know who I wouldn't mind? Brendan Fraser.
He's Doom Patrol, man.
Yeah,
but the problem is with Brendan Fraser, you get him for only the voice.
I mean,
because he physically cannot be in the movie, unfortunately. Also, his voice fits the character in Doom Patrol too well. Like, he's not menacing. He's Brendan Fraser. He's George of the Jungle. You can't go from George of the Jungle to ruler of Latvia.
Watch me. He starts dropping mummy references the entire time.
I mean, it's got to be better than Tom Cruise's.
Yep.
So I got 3 other villains, none of which I've casted. I know it is a pipe dream, but I can dream, Harold. I want my phantasm, dang it.
I love you, dude, but that'll never happen.
No, never. And I know that. However, later this year, it is actually being officially canonized in the comics.
Oh, that's cool.
Phantasm is coming into main comic continuity, and not just animated series and Batman Beyond continuity. It's coming into actual comic continuity.
Huh. The problem is with Phantasm,
it's such like almost like an underground nerd fandom character.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a good character. So yeah, that's my pipe dream for villain of just like one of my all-time favorite Batman villains, but I understand how niche that is and how unlikely it is to happen. These next 2, I guarantee you we will get at some point within the next 15 years. Maybe it's just because I'm been on a Superman kick, but I'm more excited for one than the other. And you might be surprised. I'm really looking forward to seeing Darkseid someday, and I feel like we will get him. Not a fan. I know some people want Tony Todd, who is the voice of the, I think he's like the coroner or something from Final Destination. He was Candyman.
Oh, yeah.
He's voiced Darkseid in some of the animated movies, and I think his voice is just kind of okay. Still to this day, I think the best voice is Keith David, because that voice is booming.
Yes, you need something that's over the top. It's not suave. It's, I am a god, and you have no choice but to bend to my will.
Zod kneels before Darkseid.
Yeah, boy.
So basically, for those that don't know comics, Darkseid is Thanos if he wasn't a wimp.
Yeah.
Darkseid would snap Thanos' neck if he didn't have the gauntlet. Like, Darkseid doesn't need the gauntlet.
Well, and honestly, I don't think Thanos, even with the gauntlet, would have a chance against Darkseid.
Because as we said, Darkseid is literally a god. He's the ruler of the old gods.
He's he's so. That's always the problem with him, though. And it's something that DC struggles with, in my opinion, is sometimes their villains are so big and so like end all be all that it's hard to write a really good story and then have anything good come afterwards.
Yeah, it's almost like if you have Darkseid, where do you go from that? It's like when the Avengers eventually fight Galactus in the MCU, which I'm sure will happen someday. I think Galactus will end the MCU. Not he'll destroy everything. I think when they fight Galactus, that'll be the end of the Marvel movies for the time being, because where do you go after a cosmic event like that?
Yeah. I mean, it might be, I can see it being the end of like Avengers films for a bit.
Yeah, agreed. However, here's where it might surprise you of there's actually a villain that I want on the big screen more than I want Darkseid, actually.
Really?
Brainiac.
Yes!
Brainiac is one of the greatest Superman villains of all time. Basically, picture Ultron, except better. So Brainiac is obsessed with collecting worlds for his collection. He would shrink them down, freeze them in the state that they were, and collect planets and information. He's basically a living, breathing computer system that's obsessed with perfection. He shrunk down the bottle city of Kandor. He's obsessed with collecting Earths and cultures. He flies around in the coolest ship ever, a gigantic skull ship in his own image, which is a boss move. But I think, and at some point I'll get around to making it. I have a Superman story pitch idea that I want to get around to making a video on. But for a Superman movie, I think Brainiac's a perfect villain because in Captain America Winter Soldier, he didn't have to fight one particular person. He had to fight an ideal and a grouping. I think the best thing for Superman to go up against is technology itself and the shifting world, and Brainiac represents that, but also can be a physical threat, make no mistake.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart idea, actually.
Because, look, Superman could punch his way out of anything except Doomsday. But he can't punch technology, if that makes sense. He would actually have to think.
Well, and that comes to that conversation of the thing with Winter Soldier is, what do you do with a man who is the biggest patriot ever when in the modern day patriotism
there it
is a lie?
Yep. And what if Brainiac exposes that the world Superman lives in, it's not truth, justice, and the American way anymore? Does he still hold on to those ideals? Sounds like Winter Soldier, but
I mean, what else are you going to do with that?
Yeah, I know some people have been like, Lex Luthor would be great. To me, if you're going to do a Superman movie, Brainiac is the perfect counter in the world that we live in today that I think would be absolutely perfect for a Superman movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't fight that at all.
All right. Do you got any more villains? Are you ready to move on to heroes?
Looking around, I do not. I do have, I guess, kind of a villain in a way. Do you remember Incredible Hulk issue number 1?
Wolverine.
Yes.
I didn't think that was the first issue of Hulk, was it?
It's very, I know it's at least very, very early on.
I didn't think it was the first one, but I know what you're talking about because one of my
Yes.
coworkers, when I worked at a Boys and Girls Club, he was like the club director, and he had a replica of the comic that Wolverine first appears in.
Yes. So I'll start the conversation like this. We haven't had a good Hulk movie.
Because I don't know if Disney owns the rights to Hulk movies.
Oh, yes, I'm aware, but regardless, we haven't had a good Hulk movie yet. So let's assume that Marvel somehow got the rights, okay? And we have this whole conundrum of how, first of all, who do you cast as the new Wolverine, and how do you bring him into the story? Okay? So outside of just being like, well, just throw him in the X-Men. Wolverine deserves better than that. Why not have Incredible Hulk make your first like real movie with him, maybe with Mark, and it's post Endgame, and then have his villain be Wolverine.
I'd be okay with Wolverine fighting the Hulk.
Absolutely. And I can see the trailer like, or switch it. Make it a make it so Incredible Hulk is seen as this dangerous force. Let's do that.
An X-Force?
Oh, stop. But like, regardless, I can just see shots in my mind of a guy in a cowboy hat running through the Canadian wilds, sniffing around, and like it just like, oh, dude, I'd be so down for like that's how you reintroduce these characters.
I'd be down. Just to set things up, I do have something Wolverine related later on.
Okay.
But yeah, going to heroes. Okay, I'll spare everyone at home the pain and the torture of rehashing things that get said every week. I'll get the Nightwing out of the way. Nightwing needs to be in live action form. Why? Go listen to like every episode I've ever had on this podcast.
Yep.
Thank you for your time. This has been my TED Talk.
So I'm going to piggyback off that real quick. I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that we would love a Teen Titans movie.
Yeah, they're on my list too.
Yeah, I specifically, I think they should come from the run that Jeff Johns writes.
Yeah, who would you have as your core Titans?
Robin, Starfire, Raven. Oh geez, not. Is it Impulse?
Kid Flash.
Oh, yeah, it's Impulse.
Impulse is the grandson. That's Bart.
Yeah. So in Jeff Johns' run, Impulse is Kid Flash. It's his name that he chooses for himself.
Okay. So it's not Bart, it's Wally? Or who is it?
Yeah, it's Wally.
Okay.
It's Wally. But so because he gets shot, his knee gets shattered by Deathstroke. Like Deathstroke shoots him in the knee at point blank with a shotgun. And so it's all this other stuff. But so Impulse, Robin.
Give me PTSD, man.
I know, right? Beast Boy. Well, I feel like that's a pretty solid 5.
I'd probably go with Robin, Starfire, Raven, Speedy.
Okay.
Beast Boy, and then maybe Kid Flash.
Okay. There is another character I would add, but I'm saving him because I think he deserves his own movie.
Okay. Yeah. Nightwing and Teen Titans piggyback off of each other later. Piggyback off each other perfectly. Let's just say I'm not done talking about Titans, but I'll save more about them for later.
So let me ask you this. Do you think if you're doing Teen Titans, do you do singular movies for each character and then do a Teen Titans movie?
No.
Okay.
Because I'm sure I'm biased when I say this. The only one strong enough to carry their own movie would be Robin. But even then, a Robin solo movie doesn't interest me. And this is coming from the biggest Dick Grayson fan I know. Robin as a character is not interesting. It's either Batman and Robin or Nightwing.
I mean, you could do maybe Raven, but that's been done to death.
But I think the thing is with Raven, if she's by herself, she still needs someone to pull her out of the abyss. And that's where the Titans come into play.
Exactly. That was going to be my next point. So it's tough. I mean,
like I love all the Titans individually, but I don't know if any of them on their own are strong enough to carry a movie. That's why they work as a team so well.
Yes, absolutely.
As a child of the 90s and the early 2000s, I naturally will have several members of the Justice League animated series, still the best incarnation of the Justice League ever assembled. We need Martian Manhunter.
Yes!
Martian Manhunter is fantastic, and Zack Snyder is like, oh yeah, Martian Manhunter was always in my movies. It was General Stanwyck in Man of Steel, and he knew Clark knew his secret. I'm like, just stop.
Yeah, get out of here. Yeah, Martian Manhunter is long overdue.
Yes,
I can totally see them doing basically what they did with the show, where they had that event of the Martians attacking, and then that's how they meet and all of that stuff. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing that story play out in live action.
Oh no. Who would you go with for Martian Manhunter? Because off the top of my head, I came up with a name, but now I can't really think of anybody else.
Who?
Doug Jones.
Remind me who that is.
He's one of those guys that like is always in prosthetics and plays the weird characters. Was it Abe Sapien in Hellboy?
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He's done a whole bunch of stuff. But he's always like under makeup and prosthetics and stuff.
Okay. So the weird thing about Martian is that, yes, he has his alien, but he has his human form as well.
Yeah.
So you have to have that conversation. Does the same person play both forms, even though both forms are so drastically different?
I've heard.
And then
somebody wanted Dennis Haysbert, which I was okay with that.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
But yes, Martian Manhunter to me has always been one of the most overlooked members of the Justice League. There's a lot of interesting stories that he could do, but also visually, there's a lot of cool ideas that you can bring to the table with the character.
Mm-hmm.
Also, backdoor to introduce McGann.
Yeah. I mean, really, we're just consistently trying to build to Young Justice, which means there's a couple other characters we'd have to introduce first.
Sportsmaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could say that. I was going to say Static Shock or Blue Beetle or even Aqualad.
I'm still mad that your prediction has not come true about a Static Shock movie, because I think a big opportunity is just staring Warner Brothers in the face with Static Shock. I really do.
Dude, Static Shock would, especially now in today's climate, would be perfect. Are you kidding me? And Blue Beetle as well would be perfect. Like, holy cow, dude.
Yeah, both of those would reach core demographics that historically really have been underrepresented in the superhero genre.
Absolutely. And then to build Aqualad as well would be a really good move to have someone besides Mira for Aquaman to play off of.
If that's assuming Mira's allowed to come back to these movies.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Just like to actually not that I want Aqualad to come back only in a sidekick sidekick capacity, because apparently they didn't really address this in Young Justice, but he takes over the mantle of Aquaman.
Yeah, they kind of just glossed right over that.
Yep, don't get me wrong, I don't fight it. Like, he totally deserves that in that series, but it was one of those, like, okay, well, you explain this at all? So, but Aqualad, I think, would be good, especially if you're gonna build a younger team, so that gives your series a little bit more longevity, so that when you do start to phase out your older I'm using wrestling talent terms here, phase out your older talent, your younger talent's rocked and ready to go.
It's exactly what Marvel's doing right now. We don't have Chris Evans anymore. Well, it looks like Falcon's our new Captain America.
Yeah.
Which is a smart thing to do.
It is, except I would have built him a little stronger throughout the movies already.
Falcon's the best. What do you talk about?
No, he's fantastic. But I would have built it so that it was a more obvious choice, rather than, who's going to get it, Falcon or Winter Soldier? You know what I mean?
That's what the show is for.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of have two more, but I say kind of because one of them is a grouping of individuals.
Okay, and that's like the end of your list?
No, it's a grouping, and then I have I need this person as soon as humanly possible.
Okay, keep going. Let me get a couple out of the way then.
Go for it.
Okay, so I need Invincible to happen. I've been talking about this series. I don't know for how long, but I need it to happen. Invincible is a show, a comic about a kid that his dad is like Superman level superhero, and he's like wondering about when he's gonna get his powers, blah blah blah. He gets his powers, and then he has to struggle with some stuff that deals with his family's origin. So it's like Superman, but bloody and scary and not okay. It's written by the same guy that wrote the Walking Dead series. It's fantastic. It needs to happen. I know I'm never going to get Redwall.
That's not a comic book.
Hear me out. Let me just. I'm never going to get Redwall. So instead, give me Usagi Yojimbo, which is a
bless you.
Which is a samurai rabbit. And the Ninja Turtles appear early on in the series as well.
I don't think they're on your list, but I'll suggest one that should be on Josh's list because I know it's his jam like jelly.
Yeah, boy.
The Legion of Superheroes.
It needs to happen. I'm sorry. I can't believe I forgot. I was so focused on other things. Because
I wasn't even thinking about it too, but when you mentioned Young Superman, I was like, oh yeah, Josh loves Legion of Superheroes. I wonder if that's on his list.
It should happen though, especially if you did Evil Brainiac first. That would give us a perfect level of just a little bit of mistrust so that young Brainiac can earn us back.
Fair enough.
Old Brainiac or whatever he is in Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah. Let's just say that's also not the last time you'll hear the words Legion tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah, so my grouping is probably not the grouping that you're thinking of, Josh. Oh? I want the entire Flash family.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'll settle for a Flash movie at this point if we're ever going to get one. But I've always thought it was really cool that, yes, we have Barry, we have Wally West, we have Jay Garrick, we have Bart Allen, all these speedsters all belonging to the same family. And I loved any of the Young Justice episodes where they teamed up together. I would love a Spider-Verse type movie, except with Flash characters that go into different places in the Speed Force.
Yes. So let me ask you,
Flash, who do you want out of time?
Oh no. Who do you want to play Jay Garrick?
Jay Garrick. I don't know. It's got to be like an older actor. Like, I don't know. That's the thing, is I can think of several people, but I don't know why. But the two names, and maybe it's just, I don't know why, but these are the two names that popped into my head. Either Thomas Hayden Church or Dr. Cox.
Dr. Cox would be great.
I don't know why those are the names that come to my head, but
I don't know why Dennis Quaid came to mind.
Ooh, Dennis Quaid would be fantastic. So those that don't know, Jay Garrick is like the OG Flash, like the original old school, was a member of the Justice Society before there was a Justice League. Old school, where's the helmet of Hermes old school?
Yes, he's great. That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Like, Jay Garrick's up there in terms of, I think he's one of the more underrated characters in all of comics, because Barry's the best Flash, obviously. Then it's weird. I only really like Wally West when he's a kid. As an adult Flash, I'm just kind of about. As adults go, I like Jay Garrick's Flash a lot better than Wally, but I like Wally when he's a teen, and Bart's just his own thing. But I like the cross-generational appeal of having a family of speedsters, and I would love to see that in a movie a lot.
Yeah, I would agree. Especially if you do it like an impulse event.
Or, better yet, Wally or Bart gets sucked into the Speed Force, and the rest of the family has to go get him back.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
It's not a time heist because there is no specific time. You're going through time.
Time heist.
Time heist.
I have possibly the weirdest pick of somebody who I want to see.
Edrigan.
Are you kidding me? I would love to see Edrigan. Edrigan's my guy. But my favorite things that came out of the weird Peter Parker clone saga was the Scarlet Spider.
Really? You want Ben Reilly?
I do. I love that suit. Dude.
I do like the suit. I'll give you that.
Yes. I like Ben. I like that he eventually really tries to make it his own as opposed to trying to be Peter.
Okay. Fair enough.
And honestly, if you're going to build with Miles, especially behind this this Into the Spider-Verse stuff, bringing Ben Reilly would be a really cool thing for me.
I'd be okay with him appearing in one of the Spider-Verse movies. It's kind of weird that he wasn't, actually.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's because they know Spider-Man 2099 is cooler.
I mean, it's not a lie. I recently saw a panel from Scarlet Spider's stuff, and he's talking because he's in Houston, which was another thing that connected me to him. And he's talking about swinging through the city of Houston and how humid it is, and it was just, oh my goodness, it was great.
You're like, I feel this. Literally, yes, I'm walking through soup.
I literally feel this. He's like, it's literally like swinging through water.
Yep, been there.
Yep. All right, man, I got one more.
Yeah, what's your last one? Because I'm curious if we have the same one or not.
Well, you know what? I think you'd be amiss to not bring up Green Lantern in any capacity, let alone the best Green Lantern story to date, in my opinion, which is Darkest Night.
Oh, I'm going to talk about Blackest Night later. Why do you always forget what it's called?
Because I'm the best at remembering things. Don't you know?
Blackest Night.
Blackest Night's the best. Genuinely.
Yes, I have that later that I'm sure I'll talk about.
Okay. I mean, you could easily... Blackest Night is one of those things that you would have to build to. It is not one of those things you can just kind of start now.
Yeah. Blackest Night it's definitely one of the top story arcs that I want. It's actually the only... Now that looking at my list, it's the only actual story arc from the comics that I have on I want to see this someday.
Yeah.
But before we get into those, I got my one last hero that I desperately need to see. And it actually kind of ties into what you were just now talking about. Because as a child of the late 90s and early 2000s, I speak for a lot of people when I say we all really know who the best Green Lantern of all time is. In Brightest Day,
boy.
in Blackest Night, John Stewart shall let no evil escape his sight.
Yeah, boy.
John Stewart is the best Green Lantern of all time. Hal Jordan sucks compared to John Stewart.
Even though Hal is one of those guys that legitimately, like, when he loses his ring, he builds it from his own will. So, I mean, you can only say so much to that. But I agree.
I love John Stewart so much.
He's the man.
It's the only Green Lantern I actually have a pop figure of because he's just the best.
And I don't know if that's just because we grew up with him. I haven't really read much of his stuff in comics.
He unfortunately has been really underutilized a lot in the comics. He really got his break with the animated series, but again, they mainly stick to Hal being the main Green Lantern, and even then when he's not, they're like, oh yeah, Guy, you and Kyle, you guys are in charge now, and John's just over to the side going, what the heck, man?
Yeah, which is, I mean, I will take John and Kyle over Guy any day.
I would take Kilowog over Guy.
Like, okay, don't get me wrong. Guy has his moments. He can be very funny, but he's just kind of too goofy to be a Lantern, in my opinion.
He's the Damian Wayne of the Lantern Corps.
Before we liked Damian.
Yes, but John Stewart, like, if you're going into battle, you need John Stewart on your side because he's one of the few characters in all of comics that I can think of off the top of my head with actual, like, military experience. I think he was a Navy SEAL, I think?
Yeah, I believe so. And he works as a cop.
No, he's a contractor. He's an architect.
Yeah.
Green Lanterns are more or less space cops, but his actual job is architect, which is super weird, but...
Yeah.
But he's a really interesting and fascinating character, and he's one of those ones that you would kind of need the race to be right.
Yes.
Because his race is a big part of the character.
Yes.
And it's one of the few that I actually have fan casted.
All right.
This Is Us and Predator star Sterling K. Brown.
How? That's literally who I had in mind. Oh my gosh.
He's got the voice. Like, Sterling K. Brown has this, like, great, deep, but authoritative voice. Also, I'm sure I was not swayed in the slightest that he already has the Green Lantern goatee.
Yes. Well, not just that, but, like, the build and just when I think John Stewart, like, he's the aura. Yes. Like, I have to obey this guy. There's nothing I can do.
Yes. I know Tyrese Gibson wants the role badly, but I'm like, sorry, I want someone that can act.
Yeah, Tyrese isn't...
And isn't super petty.
Yeah.
That Rock feud didn't really paint him in a very good light.
No, not at all.
But, Sterling K. Brown is like, please, can we get him as John Stewart? Like, that is ideal casting more than anything else.
So do you maybe have a runner-up?
Oh, boy. I'm trying to think. Again, we can't now because he's playing something else, but if this was 3 or 5 years ago, Idris Elba, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That was always our guy. I almost want to say... I feel like he's too young, though. I was going to say Michael B. Jordan, but I feel like he's too young.
He might be Superman anyway.
Yeah, that's also true. Which I'm strangely okay with. I don't know why I'm
it
so
depends on
okay
if he's
with
Clark Kent or not.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Because there is a black Superman, but he's like an Elseworld. It'd be depends on if they're going with Clark Kent or not. Because you can have a black Clark Kent. I'd just be curious if they would like try and ignore the Henry Cavill universe, or if we would start over.
Yeah. If he wasn't already Black Panther, I could see Chadwick Baldwin.
Boseman.
Oops. I'm terrible with names, man. I ain't lying.
If he wasn't Black Manta, I could see Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
I could see him for a lot of stuff. That guy's got talent.
Yes, he does.
I don't have any more heroes, but I have a bunch more of just either items, storylines, or just general pitches for things that I would like to see at some point or another.
Okay, what you got?
I got a handful of locations. I need the Hall of Justice.
Yes.
I really thought with Zack Snyder's movies that the memorial of where Superman is buried and they destroy it when he comes back to life and they fight him for a little bit, I thought that would have been the perfect location to destroy that monument and rebuild it to be the Hall of Justice.
I can see that too.
Because I have issue with the Hall of Justice now existing in Wayne Manor. I'm like, but the Hall of Justice is in the middle of the city so that they can keep an eye on the city.
Yeah, exactly. Even then,
and it also kind of has to have that super, like, kind of sci-fi look to it, and being in Wayne Manor doesn't really provide that.
Yeah, well, and you can also post-apocalypse. You're going to need to just use it as a front so they can go to the Watchtower.
I have Watchtower.
Yes, of course.
Because toss a coin to your Witcher. Which, if Warner Brothers came to you and said, we only have money in the budget for one of these, which would you rather have, the Watchtower or the Hall of Justice?
Watchtower.
See, I go Hall of Justice just because it's been around a little bit longer. But both of them are wonderful, and I need them both.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't mind the Young Justice Cave. That would be kind of fun too.
What's it called? Something Harbor. Happy Harbor?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I will say though, if we have the Hall of Justice and the Watchtower, then that means we need, meanwhile, in the Legion of Doom, I need my Skull Fortress.
Yes, you have
It's the most on the nose. This is clearly where the bad guys are hiding out ever. But hey, we got it in Justice League Doom, which I'm just now realizing stands for probably Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the more underappreciated animated movies. I really like Justice League Doom, and I really actually think that exists in the same universe as Young Justice. But I've always thought the design of the Legion of Doom headquarters was fantastic. If we're not getting the actual Legion of Doom, which I don't think we are, because we're definitely getting a reboot of certain aspects of the DC universe.
Lex Luthor.
I would like a Legion of Doom headquarters
Yes, I agree.
with the skull and everything.
But if you're gonna tandem that, I would love to see like a version of Vandal Savage's hideout.
See, that doesn't immediately jump off the screen to me.
Fair enough.
Or make me go, yes, I need to see Vandal Savage's hideout. What I do need to see is a gigantic and not at all beacon for bad guys T in the middle of a city.
Yay, oh boy.
Titan's Tower. Like,
dude, Titans
as much as I like Titans the series on DC Universe, even though season 2 is a big old mess that was only worth watching because Nightwing, my big issue with the show is they literally just live in a random penthouse in a building. It's not Titans Tower at all. And even then, they're like, we were prime Titans with Donna Troy and Dick Grayson and everybody else. I'm like, but your operations was an apartment. Not a whole building shaped in a T. I need it shaped like a T, dang it.
Also true.
Because nothing says random structural integrity like a gigantic T how has that not been attacked more often than it has?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because that's the biggest flex move a hero can do is literally, hey, this is where we live. Come attack us. It's like Iron Man 3, basically.
Yep.
I need Titans Tower forever getting just a Teen Titans movie. But again, that's a big old if right there.
It's a huge if.
Like I said earlier, I would love Blackest Night for a story arc to take place. But like you said, it's not one that you can just make. You need to build up. It's an endgame level story of bringing people back from the dead and all hope seems lost and basically break glass in case of emergency. With some truly spectacular moments of, yes, it's cool when Captain America lifts Mjolnir. It's also kind of pretty cool in the comics when heroes that you know and love get their own specific Green Lantern ring because they need to. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I cheered real hard when, spoiler alert, you see the Flash with a blue power ring of hope and basically become a blue Flash.
It's so good.
Or like, if you thought it was cool in Endgame when people come back, it's just as cool in Blackest Night as well. But again, that's a very complicated thing that you really have to build up to.
Yes, it's one of those stories that you got to build up to. Much like Apocalypse, you can't just kind of Zack Snyder. You can't just drop him in the beginning of a story. You have to build to him.
Yes. So this next one is such an oddly specific detail, but I think actually, if we ever get a Flash movie, I could see this happening, and it would be a fix for my biggest issue with this current Flash, and that is the god-awful suit that he's wearing in Justice League. I think one of the things that I really hope somebody see in a Flash movie is his famous Flash ring.
Yes, I need that to happen.
So for those that don't know, the Flash has this special ring that he carries his suit like on a microscopic scale that whenever he needs to be the Flash, the suit just pops out of that and he changes into super speed and becomes the Flash. It would immediately fix that suit from Justice League, which to me is one of the worst suits in a comic book movie ever. I hate that thing. It goes against every one of Flash's strong suits.
Yeah. Well, but then again, it's not any better than Grant's.
See, I'll argue with that because Grant's is at least like slimming, and that's the point of it makes him more aerodynamic and makes him faster. My big thing with Grant's is he's too scrawny.
Yeah.
And his mouth is like the gap that they leave for his mouth and jaw is way too big.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
And the eye holes are too big, but to their credit, the suits have gotten like progressively better as the show's progressed, except for that one time that they got rid of the chin strap and then they immediately fixed it because they realized it was terrible.
Yeah.
But they've like tried to make it better as time goes on. But again, it's a TV budget.
Yeah, I don't really blame them for that.
I want a good Flash suit that one day comes from a Flash ring. I would cheer pretty hard for that.
Yeah.
But it's not the loudest I would ever cheer for a suit, but I'll save that one for last. But
I mean, I would cheer pretty hard if we get that black and gray or the gray and blue.
Gray and blue?
For Batman, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I almost put that on this, but I still think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. I agree.
I'm trying not to say it so much because I feel like if we put it out into the universe too much, it'll jinx it.
Yeah. Yeah. So my last three before I go into my big closing statement, I think, are ironically enough, 3 straight Superman things. One of these, I'm actually mad that we haven't gotten yet just because on paper it seems so obvious of, duh, how has no one done a World's Finest movie yet?
But seriously.
So for those that don't know, World's Finest is just any story involving Batman and Superman that they work together as a team, just the two of them, like a buddy cop adventure story. I'm so sick and tired of all these stories of Batman versus Superman, who would win an ultimate slug fight. That's cool every once in a while to see, okay, my dad could beat up your dad. These guys are best friends. Let them do adventures together. They are literally the buddy cop of one will gladly tell dad jokes to everyone willing to listen, whereas one is the dry, stone-faced. Admittedly, Batman can be funny. Let's also acknowledge that. Let's have more humor with Batman, but not like puns, but like just straight deadpan. Because Batman can be wicked funny if he's in the right situation.
Well, that scene in was it Justice League War, where he's in the sewers with Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Wait, he's just messing with Green Lantern the whole time.
I was more thinking of Justice League Doom when he's just like, there's a big meteor coming for Earth, and Superman's like, well, what if I move the Earth out of the way? And Batman's just like, I don't have 2 weeks to tell you why that's a bad idea.
Oh, dude.
Like, heaven forbid, Batman be fun every once in a while. Yes, he's not like a Nightwing in terms of laughing out loud and breaking out the one-liners, but he can have some humor, and Batman and Superman work well together and actually like being around each other.
No way. But what about Martha?
Like, I don't know. What if it's like Batman and Superman take on Lex Luthor and Metallo?
Yeah, just like something.
Or just something that pairs them together. I just want... Why has this not happened yet? It just seems so obvious of a Batman and Superman movie together. But no, we had to go and have them fight each other and then kill one of them off. Which, again, if this was maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I would put it on the top of my list, the death and resurrection of Superman, but have it mean something. So thanks for ruining that forever, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, basically.
But as much as I want a world's finest of Batman and Superman teaming up, I don't need a full-fledged movie of this. I just want at least a scene or two of Superman and Nightwing not even doing anything together, but just hanging out and talking, because that's actually a really underrated relationship, I think, because a lot of the good core aspects of Nightwing that became of him from his character didn't come from Batman. It came from the healthy father figure that he had with Superman. He's really tight with Superman. Superman is the one that gives him the name Nightwing. They're really good friends. And if nothing else, I just want a scene of them in an ideal world for me, in a Nightwing movie, once Nightwing leaves Batman's side, he has a conversation with Superman about where do I go from here? And then Superman tells him the legend of Nightwing, and that's where he gets the name from. That's my ideal situation that I would love to see in a movie with the two of them.
Speaking of situations, I would love to see that dynamic between Superman and Superboy.
Yes.
Having Superman to figure out how to deal with that.
Yes, a healthy father-son relationship until they try and ruin it in the comics, but that's what got Dan DiDio fired, so good riddance.
Yes.
But yes, that's a healthy relationship. I don't mind Jonathan Kent. I would like to see Superman and Superboy.
I would as well.
And just more domestic life for Superman. But this last one is such an oddly specific, and I don't even remember which issue or what story arc it was a part of, but I always thought this really is what makes Superman so special. And it's a moment that if I'm making a Superman movie, this is like circle, underline, this bold, this has to be in the movie at some point. Because it's not a big action set piece, it's a moment of there's someone on top of a building. Maybe it's a Daily Planet. I can't remember. But someone's on top of a building and they're about to jump. And Superman flies up and doesn't save them. He just sits with them on the ledge and just talks to them for a while and just has that one-on-one relationship and more or less convinces them that life was worth living. Because Superman, heaven forbid, cares about people. Oh, no. And yes, he could save the world by moving an entire mountain range if he had to. But at the same time, he's a good person that's willing to just sit down and listen and will still care about the one individual person as well as the millions upon millions of people out there. I forget what comic it was, but I always remember reading that going, that's not a moment we see a lot in comics of, it's always these big heroic moments and not these little intimate moments. And I think that's something that a lot of people can get behind with Superman. The people that are always like, he's too overpowered, he's too uninteresting. I'm like, it's moments like these that resonate with the character for so many people. And I think that would hit home for a lot of people and make them realize, oh, he is this all-powerful being, but at the same time, he still cares about the one individual person.
Yeah. And I think that's what's needed right now with Superman is because Warner Brothers is like, oh, we don't know what to do with him.
He's not relevant. Like, I'm sorry, he's been relevant for the last 80 years. Where have you guys been?
Yeah, like, so then find ways to make him relevant. That's fine.
The best thing I've heard is, I forget what comic book writer wrote it, but when that story came out that Warner Bros. Didn't think he was relevant, they just retweeted it saying, you don't need to make him relevant, you need to make him inspiring.
Yes.
It's like, oh, just, I want to hug you. There's never been more true statement.
Yes.
But the one that I saved for last, just because, oh man, we've been teased as fans with this for so long. If there's anything that we've been teased longer than the Captain America lifting Mjolnir thing, we eventually got payoff on this. We will never get payoff with the original actor. However, I still hold out hope that someday, we will see Wolverine in costume.
Yes, please.
We didn't get it with Hugh Jackman, and we got teased with the Wolverine Extended Edition. I am still bitter about that to this day. Not even in a flashback scene in Logan or something, but we never got Logan in costume? You kidding me?
It doesn't make sense to put him in costume.
Oh, I'm sorry. That costume from the Wolverine looked perfect and believable to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, here we go.
Oh, no.
That's where you bring in the Incredible Hulk Wolverine section.
Okay. Guide me there.
No, yeah. So that's where, say you do a slow reveal in the trailer wise, you never fully show him, but in that final battle he when he's tracking Hulk, he has to put on, like, all his clothes are destroyed, and he's like, well, I got one more thing I can wear, but I don't normally bring it out unless it's an important thing. And he brings out, and that it's the bright yellow one, or maybe it's the black and brown one. Who knows? But that would be a cool little. I want to reveal it as opposed to just him like wearing it suddenly in a movie.
I would like it if there's an end credits of maybe like some jungles or some woods, and a character just walks away, and as they're walking away, the camera pans to the left, and it's the silhouette of the ears.
Oh, I would kill for the ears.
Because I know we're kind of on the mark of just,
Wolverine
well, maybe it's a hand that comes into frame and then the knives come out. I'm like, that's a little on the nose, but.
Yes. Can we please, when we do Wolverine again, you have
Daniel Radcliffe.
Can we make him short?
Yes, this is very important to Josh because he identifies that.
Okay. No, it's a big thing for Wolverine's character in that he's not 6 foot.
Again,
he's an average height dude.
Ever since people suggested it, I actually fully am not joking when I say I think Daniel Radcliffe would be a good Wolverine.
I hate you for that.
Why? The dude is 5'5".
Yeah, but you know what? I can't really argue.
I know you want Tom Hardy, but it ain't going to happen, man.
I know. It's just...
Also, one last one, because we've mentioned it before on the podcast, but it's been a long, long time. In an ideal world, the greatest end credits a Marvel could do is, and this will take Josh back down memory lane, you just have a table in the middle of a messy room that the phone is ringing in the middle of this table.
Yes.
On a wide shot. And he slowly zoom in, and all of a sudden, a really, really, really long, stretchy hand picks up the phone, and that's it.
Dude,
Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four are coming.
I want to say cry, but I don't know if cry is the right word, but that legit would be one of my favorite end credits.
I mean, I almost lost my voice in the end credits from Far From Home, but I would probably lose it there.
Yeah.
You got any last ones before we bring this thing home?
No, I do not.
Alrighty, well, what do you guys think? What are some moments or characters or just things that we have not actually seen yet in a comic book movie that you would love to see? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel or find us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.